Welcome to Big Homeopathy. I'm your host, Sarah Thompson. Welcome to Big Homeopathy. I'm your host, Big Homeopath, Sarah Thompson. This week is the Research and Resources arm of the Big Homeopathy blog. You have to be a genius. Homeopathy really overtakes you and takes all your enthusiasm and your energy. The balance is in the pleasure you have in seeing cured cases. That's a quote from George Vithoulkas in the most recent issue of the American Homeopath, which is the journal of the Society of North American Homeopathy. And it's a response to a question about how to balance your life with other pursuits alongside homeopathy. And George's answer is pretty much that there isn't any balance. It's all homeopathy. And for me, that level of excitement does, of course, come from cure, but also just from improvement. Cure is our goal, and it's a high bar, and so being in the journey is also rewarding for me. But at the same time, that complete integration of homeopathy and homeopathic thinking into my life is also a source of invigoration and inspiration. There's no place where I end and homeopathy begins. It's all of a piece. And so I'm enjoying the juxtaposition of having this journal on my desk alongside the research I'm going to talk about today. And I'm excited about this research. It comes from Uganda. It's preliminary. And it's the first time that someone has reached out to me to share something that they're working on in the field. So this is really cool. And it is a study about the use of a combination remedy called Malaria to treat malaria in Uganda, primarily in children. So, at the same time, I am looking at this magazine, which is full of interviews and imperatives from master homeopaths and senior homeopaths from the past, saying that we must only ever use a single remedy and we must only ever be striving for cure and never palliation. And so it raises some interesting questions because, of course, there's clearly a vibrant debate, and I need to know all of the basics and all of the fundamentals, but also to read and study widely. And there are room for different approaches, but there are also clearly practices that are not efficacious for the patient, and they should be avoided. As someone who has been through the brutality of chemotherapy, but also seen its benefits, I'm aware that my clients' needs and vision are not always lined up with mine. And to paraphrase Seth Godin, the marketing guru, your client does not believe what you believe or think what you think. And so I am studying with the works of these master senior single remedy prescribers, and then also studying the work of people who are successfully treating cases where there is more palliation. And the responsibility is with me to communicate with the client. And that's why I keep a close therapeutic relationship with my clients. The days of the remote, arrogant, all-knowing physician, those days are gone. That doesn't serve today's clientele, today's health seekers. And so that's why I work in a way that very much enfolds people into the process and keeps that contact close so that I can really see what is the vital force saying, and so that they can understand what's happening, because the responsibility is with me to guide the process, but not from a perspective of a lack of communication. So, with that introduction, I'd like to lead into this research, which is a woman named Michelle Pickering, who is a certified classical homeopath from Connecticut. She is in Uganda, and she has put together this pilot study. I have also some research from Dana Allman's work with all different kinds of malaria research, in vitro, in vivo, combination, single remedy. And so it is all over the map. And malaria is a disease that affects 200 million people a year, mostly in tropical and subtropical regions. It's borne by mosquitoes, but of the approximately 500,000 deaths last year, over 400,000 were in Africa, and many of those were in children. So this study of this remedy called Malaria, it's a combination remedy. I don't know what it contains besides chelidonium, but there is some other in vivo studies involving mice that clearly demonstrate that the combination of chelidonium and the nosode, malaria nosode, can clear parasites and increase longevity significantly, and certainly on par with the much more toxic pharmaceutical drugs, which have side effects such as psychosis and seizures and hepatic toxicity and kidney toxicity and skin issues. So having an alternative is really powerful, especially an inexpensive and effective one. So this work that Michelle Pickering is doing, she has a study, a cohort of 14. And 13 of them are children. 7 are in the Malaria trial, and 7 are using the standard drug. This is not a quinine drug. This is for situations where the quinine drugs do not get a response. And what she is finding is that the Malaria is just as effective at resolving all of the symptoms for these patients. But there's something that's really interesting that she pointed out to me, and the team observed that there is a spike after when they're testing the parasite levels as well as this extensive list of intakes, and the parasite levels in the pharmaceutical group just drop to 0 and stay at 0. But in the homeopathy group, they spike and then fall. And that is something we would expect to see with a homeopathic aggravation. And her team suspects that perhaps what's happening is that the chelidonium is inspiring the liver to expel the parasites into the bloodstream, where they are then being destroyed. So I would really look forward to seeing longer term whether there's a reinfection rate that's different in the 2 different cohorts, because in the pharmaceutical group you see what appears to be a suppression, and in the homeopathy group you see an expression. And so even though this is a combination remedy, we see a homeopathic pattern, and I think it's up to homeopaths to look at, is there a potential application of a combination? Is there such a thing as a combination genus epidemicus when you have an epidemic situation? And certainly if people's lives are being improved by this, would Vithukas say that it's homeopathy? Well, he wouldn't. And maybe there's another branch of medical study that is the use of succussed nanomedicines to palliate serious conditions. That is still a hugely valuable offering in the context of what is available to people right now. I think it's big homeopathy, and it's going to be huge. So I hope you enjoyed this week's brief discussion of research and resources, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.